Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this keyword planner guide, you're going to learn everything you need to know to finding buyer keywords, those keywords that are actually going to drive leads and sales to your business. And we're going to do our best to cut out all of those bad keywords that just have a bunch of tire kickers and looky-loos. So timestamps below, along with some other helpful videos, including a full in-depth tutorial on how to actually set up your campaigns and do Google Ads remarketing. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right in here. Now, something to remember is the keyword planner is designed to give you a ton of information, and then it's our job to sift through all of that and figure out what actually is important to us. And that means there's a lot of features and a lot of data that we should just ignore and not use, because it's our responsibility to find those buyer keywords while Google is trying to give us every single idea under the sun, because obviously the more keywords we bid on, the more money Google makes. And the keywords we want and the keywords Google wants us to bid on don't always match up. So let's go ahead and dive into the Google Ads interface here. So we'll go ahead and just sign into an account, or you can create a new one here. Go ahead and sign in with your email. And once you're inside your Google Ads account, we're going to come up here to Tools and Settings, and then kick. We're going to kick Keyword Planner. Oh boy. All right, this is gonna be a long one. So discover new keywords is what we want to target. We can actually get search volume and forecasts later on, so timestamps below if you wanna just jump ahead to that. So we'll go ahead and click on discover keywords. Since we're going to do a men's watch example, I'll just go ahead and type in some basic searches that represent the product, right? So we want to be very, very broad here. Unlike our campaigns, we want to cast a really wide net so that we get a lot of keyword ideas. Yes, you do need to go through all thousands of them if you want to be successful. There's no shortcuts here. The good news is you only have to do it once. Now, if you don't know what keywords to start with, you can always come back to this diagram. These are keyword formulas and structures that we like using when we start our search. And sometimes we'll actually, if we're in a rush or we're doing a campaign for the first time, we'll go ahead and just use some of these keywords right off the bat. So you can go ahead and pause. I won't go through this too much. And as you can see, once you start finding keywords, you'll actually start grouping them together to create your different ad groups, although I'm getting ahead of myself. So just a little preview of what we're going to be doing when it comes to finding our keywords. So let's jump back into the interface here. You can actually also filter by domain. So a pretty cool thing you can do here after you go through this process is you can actually go to some competitor sites. And this works really well if you go with a big brand name, something like Amazon or Target, Walmart, Williams, Sonoma, Best Buy, or I don't know, Newegg.com, whatever. I'm running out of ideas here. So go ahead and take a product page and then put that URL in here, because Google doesn't actually really care if it's your site or not. They're just going to give you a bunch of ideas for those products. So I recommend doing it product pages on really big sites, and that can help you get some keyword ideas as well. So let's go ahead and click on Get Results here. And before we dive into all of the keywords and starting to filter, we'll quickly go through the dashboard, because you have a couple of things that you're going to want to do now before you actually start getting into your keyword list, because every time you make changes to these dashboard settings, it's going to change the keyword list below, and it can get really, really frustrating if you forgot to turn something on or off. So we're back in our main keywords ideas here. Now, if you ever want to change the keywords ideas that you have, you can always click here, and it will take you back to a very similar screen where you entered in your seed keywords. I don't recommend changing your seed keywords once you've loaded the interface, because again, every time you change this box, it's going to change all of the keywords that are showing up, and it can get really, really frustrating. So you need 5 or less keywords here. So 3 to 5 is the perfect sweet spot. You don't need more, and if you just put in 1, you're going to get way too much random stuff, right? So we're not going to do anything there, but you can also set custom locations, which I do recommend. So make sure that you're looking at keywords based upon the locations that you're going to target. So if you're a physical-based business, then you want to make sure that you are looking at keywords in the context of your state, town, neighborhood, region. And then of course, if you are e-commerce or you're just generating leads, then you want to make sure that you've chosen the correct country, provinces, or territories. So we'll go ahead and leave that alone. English, of course, we want to make sure that we're looking at the right keywords. I speak English, so that's what I've chosen. Make sure you change it to whatever your language is. And when it comes to the different networks Google offers, don't include search partners in this. We only want to be looking at keywords specifically for the Google search page. So something that you can do when you set up an account, which I do recommend for your first one, is you can actually have your ads show on other networks that Google is partnered with, because Google is the big be-all, end-all when it comes to search, especially when it comes to search ads. And so some other search engines that are not as big will actually just run Google ads on their search engine. So I'll get off that. You only want to change the dates if you are a seasonal based business, and this is going to be more for forecasting anyway. You just want all of the numbers. So now let's go ahead and look at the final option you have here, and that is going to be suggestions. Please don't click any of these. These are very, very broad, and your best guess or your best estimate when you first typed in those seed keywords are the place to start. So you don't need to add more. You already have 3 to 5. You are good to go. They're just too broad. So now let's go ahead and talk about our keywords and all of the features that we have available to us when it comes to filtering out our keywords so we can find our buyer keywords. And of course, all these keywords are based upon your seeds. So we'll come down here. If you just want to skip ahead to the analysis part, you're going, I understand all the data and stuff. Go ahead and skip to this timestamp where we jump into the data analysis and actually start filtering out these keywords. So when it comes to your keyword idea list, you'll see that your seed keywords are at the top. And then we have our keyword ideas at the bottom, and you can just scroll endlessly. I think there's over 7,000 for this particular one. And if I was setting up this account, yes, I would go through all 7,211 keywords to find the ones that we should be bidding on. Remember, you only have to do this once, and you're going to be so much more successful than all those other advertisers who get lazy and just give up on page 3. So let's go ahead and go through how we can actually start to filter so we can make sure we're only looking at keywords that represent buyers. And of course, we'll talk about negative keywords in a little bit here. So let's jump back into the interface. So for our filter settings, you have a lot of options, but first I'm going to remove this refine keywords beta. We'll get to that in a little bit as well. And we'll go ahead and click on filter so we can see all of the traditional examples. The beta is actually really cool. So we'll skip most of these filters. The only one I recommend using is the keyword filter. And this is in this case where we have over 7,211 right now. So what we want to do is actually add these words as phrases. So who, what, when, where, why, free, how. Though no one who is using those keywords in their search is a buyer. So we can go ahead and add those as phrase match, and that will make your list a lot shorter. Still go through all the keywords, but this is a quick way to work with a keyword list that just seems overly long. Now you can also filter by keywords that are already in your account. I tend to leave this on because Google's going to tell us anyway in the account status column over here. And then we can also change our columns, which I typically just leave alone, although you can mouse over these and see the different settings and different data that you can get. But this is one of those instances where more data is not necessarily better, and I highly recommend just leaving these alone. Focus on the buyer keywords. Common sense just is king here. So we'll go back into our interface, and now we get to move on to the fun part, data analysis. So we have gone through the dashboard. We've gone through how you can filter out different keywords. So hopefully now you have a nice lean, mean list of keywords that actually represent buyers.
They might buy, or they might be looking for something.
I hope you're getting annoyed by me saying buyer keywords because it is so important. Google will give you every keyword under the sun. Just focus on buyer keywords. And when it comes to the numbers we're about to talk about, they don't matter. When it comes to search volume, when it comes to competition, high, low, when it comes to your top of page bid, these aren't important. So we'll go through these columns relatively quickly here. You can see average monthly searches. When you haven't spent money in an account before, we set up a demo account on purpose here, you're just going to see ranges. If you see exact numbers, that's because you spent money with Google, and Google knows that you're willing to whip out your credit card and give them money, so they're going to give you better data. If you're just getting started, it's going to be a range like this one. That's okay. We're focused on buyer keywords. We should have a word count. Buyer keywords. Okay, so for competition, this is essentially Google telling you how many other advertisers are going after this keyword. And often you're going to find the best keywords have high competition because a ton of other people have gone through this exact same process. So does that mean you should just leave it out because you are never going to be successful with those high competition keywords? No, of course not. There are tons and tons of people looking to buy your stuff, and we have to compete with the other people who are selling similar products and services. So ignore this column. Now, when it comes to top of page bid, high and low, this is just telling you the range that you're probably going to have to pay in order to be at the top of the page. Don't let these numbers freak you out. You're going to find that you're actually going to be able to be successful even if you're on page 2. So if you find keywords that are $10 or $15 a click, don't freak out. It doesn't mean that the keyword's not going to work or you're never going to be successful with it, which is why we want to ignore most of these columns and just focus on, yes, buyer keywords. Okay, that's enough. Let's go through a live example of actually adding some keywords. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit here just because of time purposes, and you don't want to watch me scroll through all 7,216 words now. I don't know how that changed. Okay, so I actually earlier X'd out refined keywords. So when I did that, you'll see at the top here, you can click on refined keywords. So once you do, you can click that to bring it back. And you can go ahead and click to remove different types of keywords Google has recognized that a lot of advertisers may not want to use. In this particular instance, because we're talking about watches, I don't need to show my watch. You know we're talking about watches. You can see it on the screen. There we go. Because we're talking about watches, I'm not going to have a shop that's selling all of these brand name watches. So I don't want our ads to show up when someone types in a brand name. So all we'd have to do is come through here and uncheck all of these boxes like car make, and then finally we have other brands. And with that, we've instantly removed all of the branded search terms, and I'll go ahead and X this out. Of course, the keyword number didn't change because I'd done that ahead of time and I just messed up with the screenshots. So we'll go ahead and X that out. Now let's go ahead and find some keywords. So I'm going to combine two processes here. You're probably going to just want to click and add every single keyword that looks like a buyer keyword. But the first one is I'm just going to go through and let's say I'm selling some sort of sports watch. So I'm going to look for keywords around watches that represent someone who might be interested in buying a digital watch because they're working out or they're doing some sort of sport. So I'll go ahead and scroll down here and then I can just select, so digital watch, sports watch for men, and then we'll go ahead and select a couple more. I have 5, of course we could keep going. And then I'm going to scroll back up here to the top and I'll go ahead and click on plan. So we'll click on plan here and then new ad group. We're going to just go ahead and say watches digital. We could just as easily say sports. And then we'll go ahead and click on create. Now when it comes to the match type, never use broad match when it comes to running PPC Google Ads campaigns, like ever, because broad match is just going to give you so many untargeted clicks. It's not funny. It will literally just burn your account's money. It's not something you ever want to do. That's why I'm being so serious here. Please do not use broad match keywords, but you can use phrase match. So let's go ahead and click on phrase match here, and then we will add keywords to the plan. We can go ahead and dismiss our notification here. And if we click on forecasts, you'll actually start to see, which we'll get to later, timestamp here if you want to jump ahead to forecasts, you'll actually start to see how the keywords are going to bring in traffic and clicks based upon your budget. So we'll get to how to change the budget and what your budget should be in a little bit here. But that does it for this forecast. And as you scroll down, you'll see the estimates of how many clicks you might get. Now, these are estimates, really, really broad estimates. So don't freak out and don't get too excited, or don't get too excited, whichever direction the numbers are going. And of course, it just gives you some forecasts on where most people are going to be viewing your website from. So here, obviously, we need to have a really good looking mobile website. And then, of course, locations. And this will, of course, change based upon the location settings that you set up at the beginning of this process. So let's go ahead and go back to our keyword ideas, and we'll add some more keywords. I'm going to do this 2 more times. So if you already get it, you want to skip ahead, here's the timestamp to jump ahead to the plan section where we go through the forecast. So I'll jump back into the interface here. I'll click on keyword ideas, and I'm actually going to reselect the same 5 keywords, and I'm going to click on plan here. and I'm going to click on digital watches, and then I'm going to add it as exact match. So when you are looking to create your campaign directly from this interface, which may or may not be the most effective way to do it, you can go ahead and make sure you add it as phrase match and exact match. So I'll go ahead and add exact match here. I'll add the keywords, and of course, when we view saved keywords, you'll see that the same 5 keywords are here. This list doesn't change. It just takes the one keyword. It doesn't care about your different match types. And then if we click on forecast and scroll down, now you'll be able to see we have an exact match version and a phrase match version. So if you're looking to go directly into creating a campaign, which we'll do at the end of plan, this is what you're going to need to do because you want both match types in your ad groups. So now let's go ahead, go through this 2 more times. I got ahead of myself there. And this time we're going to look for general men's watch searches, right? So I'll just quickly scroll down here. And once I have another group of keywords, I'll go ahead and click. I have 6 selected. So I'll go and click watches digital, and then I'll create a new ad group, and I'll just name this one watches general. Click on save, and we will save it as phrase match. So I'll have to come back and do exact match again. And I'll go ahead and add the keywords. So they've been added to our plan here. And for time purposes, I'm going to go a little faster now. So I'll select the exact same keywords again, and then I will add it to the watches general ad group that we just created. And this time I'm going to add them as exact match, add keywords. And of course, we can click view saved keywords, or we can come over here to forecast, and we can see that our numbers are starting to change because we are adding more keywords to our plan. So we'll go ahead, go back to our keyword ideas. I just clicked on keyword ideas here, and we'll do one more. Let's do some high-end or luxury style watch searches. So I'll quickly scroll down. I'll select vintage, chronograph, luxury, and we have 9 keywords this time. I think that's enough. So we'll come over here to our plan. So we want to add it to our plan, not directly into a current campaign. We'll click on create ad group here. We'll give our ad group a name, watches high end. Definitely a better way to say that. So we'll go ahead and click on create. And of course, we're going to add it as a phrase match. So add the keywords, do the exact same thing over again. Hopefully this feels repetitive. So I'll select all of them again because they're already in our plan. And this time we're going to just click on phrase match here, and we'll go ahead and click on exact. So we'll add our keywords, and now we can go ahead and view our keywords. Don't worry, I'm not going to add more keywords, but that is the process. So what we just went through, that's going to be the bulk of the process. And if you don't want to go through adding the match types multiple times because you're going to create your campaigns later, then you can go ahead and just add all of them as phrase match, and you're going to see all the keywords that you add to your plan here. And you can click this button to download it into an Excel file. I know most people are like, no, don't tell me to use Excel. And then you can quickly organize them in Excel if that's something you'd rather do. It is way faster, but of course, I know most people don't like Excel. I don't know. So anyway, I have the accountant in me, right? So we'll go ahead and click on forecast here so we can start looking and playing with our numbers, saying, hey, we've got our keywords now. How many clicks or how much traffic can we expect to get? And you can always scroll down this page to see all of the keywords and all of the match types that you have added. So right now we have quite a few, and that's just because we have 2 of each one, right? So one keyword winds up being 2 on this list. So the other thing you can do is actually go back to your keyword list and start to find terms that you want to add as negative keywords to your campaign. So as an example, if we come back over here to keyword ideas, and this will actually change your forecast as well. So you do want to do this ahead of time. And we go ahead and click on refined keywords again. We can actually add back in all of these branded keywords and then start clicking on them. And you can actually add them as a negative keyword to your campaign. And that way you make sure that you're telling Google, okay, not only am I not bidding on these keywords, I never want to show up for them ever. So that's another tip for you. Although because you already filtered out by the how to, what, when, where, why, free, and the DIY style keywords, you probably have a pretty good list already. And you can also just add those phrases as negatives. So let's jump into our plan and finally answer the question, how much is this going to cost us? Now, I know I'm a broken record here, but quick tip, it's always going to be more profitable to focus on your customer first, which means, drum roll, buyer keywords. So if you're looking at a bunch of keywords and you know that there's a group of keywords that are high competition, they cost a lot of money, but they represent who you are targeting, who is actually going to buy your product or service, then just put all of your money and budget towards optimizing and learning how to be successful with those keywords. I know that seems crazy. It kind of feels like you're just throwing a Hail Mary because there are all these keywords, but if that's how people search for your product or service, then that's where your ad needs to be. There's not really any way around it, and you're not going to be all that successful trying to be bidding on fringe keywords that may or may not represent a buyer. Trust me, we spend a lot of money on Google Ads for ourselves and clients. So we'll jump back into our interface here, and of course, we're going to click on Forecast. And this is where you're probably going to spend the majority of your time looking. We can go through a graph in a moment here. So just a quick rundown of the numbers that you're looking at in your forecast. These are estimates for the next 30 days. So you can actually change the calendar and come up here and look at different times of the year if you're a seasonal based business. Although for the most part, just leave it at the next 30 days because that's when you're probably going to be running traffic. So when it comes to how much you should be spending on Google Ads, $1,500 a month, or $40 to $50 per day. And if you have less than that to spend, then you just target less keywords. So going through the example of kind of like a Hail Mary where you just target some really expensive keywords that represent your buyer, if that's the situation you're in, then that's what you have to do. It doesn't mean that you can't be successful if you're not spending at least $1,500. It just means you use less keywords and you have to be a lot more strategic with the keywords that you choose. We've had campaigns where we literally turned it on for once a month because that was the client's budget. They could get some buyers and leads that first or second week of the month, and then we just waited for the next month until the checks came in for them and they could afford to spend more money on ads. So you don't even have to run your ads the entire month. There you can work with what you got. So let's go ahead and go through changing up our plan here. So when it comes to changing our plan, you'll see up here it says maximize clicks. So we'll go through changing that in a moment. So what you can do is you can change your average daily budget. So we want to be in the $40 to $50 range, but I'm going to leave it relatively low so you can see why you have to spend that much in order to start actually learning what keywords are going to be working for you. So let's go ahead and change this to $5 a day. So $5 a day, we can see that our clicks are going to be 240. We'll get 26,000 impressions, and it's going to cost us about $160. And of course, the CTR and average CPC, that's going to be totally dependent upon how good your ads are. So I'll link up in the description to our Google Ads Copywriter course if you want to learn more about how to write high converting ads. Now, when it comes to the clicks, you're going to, with figuring out how many keywords you should have, essentially every 50 clicks should give you a keyword. So in this particular instance, if we have 240 estimated clicks, we're only going to want to have 5 keywords or less. Now, this is exact and phrase, exact and phrase, exact and phrase. So you're actually going to have a total of 10 because there's 2 versions of each keyword, but that's just a general rule to follow when you're trying to figure out how many keywords should I use, because if you use more than that, then 240 clicks across 100 keywords is going to tell you absolutely nothing. I mean, if every keyword gets a click, how do you know which one worked, right? So we want to make sure that all of our keywords are getting enough. So I'll get off that and we'll go ahead and play with the numbers now. So we'll come back here and we'll change it from 5. We'll change it down to 4. And now you can see we are at 190, which means now we need to have 4 keywords or less. So you can see how just $1 makes a difference. You spend $1 a day, you get another extra keyword versus $4 a day. Now you only have 4 keywords to work with. So you can spend hours on hours playing with that. So we'll go on here. Actually, don't spend hours and hours, but you can. Guess I'm just the only nerd that would do that. Let's move on. Let's change it to manual CPC. So we'll change to manual CPC, click apply. And now instead of adjusting your daily budget, you're going to be able to adjust how much you're paying per click. So here, 88 cents, we definitely need to pay more than that. But just for kicks, let's go ahead and drop it down to 75 cents. And you'll be able to see our click estimates. So now we're at 120. So we're probably only going to be able to test 3 keywords if we're only bidding 75 cents per keyword. And based upon our estimates, we're probably not going to get too many impressions because our keywords cost around $1 to $1.50. So we'll go ahead and change this one more time, change it to $15 per click. And all of a sudden, wow, we could use a lot of keywords. We're going to have over 5,000 clicks, right? Please don't bid $15 per click, but you can just play with this and see how the cost per click that you start with is going to affect your strategy. I recommend anywhere from $1.50 for e-commerce products all the way up to $3 if you're a services. So if you're a services-based business, you're going to have to pay more. There's pretty much how it works out. So $1.50 to $3. If you don't really know, just start with 2 and see what happens, right? So now what we can do is we'll just change this to 95 cents. And on a shoestring budget, I think this is a lot more reasonable when it comes to trying to sell some watches online. 230 clicks. We're probably still only going to use 4 keywords, but hey, we can always use those 4 keywords a couple weeks, test them out, see what keywords work, turn off the ones that don't, and add some new ones to the rotation. So I keep going through this because I see so many comments that talk about, oh, I don't have the money to advertise. Yes, you do. If you have an advertising budget, you have enough to advertise. And that's why I like Google Ads versus all the other networks where you actually do need thousands of dollars to figure out what works. You just have to be more patient when your budget is lower. So I'll get off that soapbox now. Of course, we can change to impressions, which really doesn't do much, but I just wanted to show that you can change the graph and how it's going to look in your costs. So now let's go ahead and talk about creating a campaign. Totally forgot. If you're still watching, go and hit that like button because I'm going to assume you're getting some value out of this. Terrible with those calls to actions. Don't do that with your marketing, right? Okay, so what you could do is once you're happy with what you've set up here, I'll leave it at 95 cents. We can go ahead and come up to create campaign, and we can actually import all of our ad groups, all of our ads, and our budget directly into a campaign. So I'll go ahead and just name this campaign after this video so I know to pause it immediately that it's not real. And we'll go ahead and click on custom here, and we'll just say $10 a day. Let's say we're on a real shoestring budget, and we're going to make a couple different campaigns to test out lots of different keywords. So we'll go ahead and click on save here. Your campaign is live and ready to go. And I say ready to go because there's no ads in it. So if you'd like some help writing some high converting ads and pretty much copying our templates from over $1 million in ad spend over the last 18 months, go ahead and check out the link in the description to our copywriter course. Now, when it comes to having your ad campaign actually go live, we need to add some ads, and then you also want to double check your campaign settings. So the way you can do that is to come up here to view campaign, and then you're going to be taken to your all campaigns and the campaign that you just set up. You can see our budget's $10 a day, our status is eligible, and you'd want to go over to the settings and make sure all the location settings and all of the details of the campaign are set up correctly. And you're also going to want to add time slots if that's important to your business. And we can scroll down and see our ad groups and the different keywords that we're going to be bidding on. Of course, again, you want to make sure, go through your settings, make sure everything's set up correctly, and then of course add your ads. So under ads and extensions, because this campaign can't run if you don't have any ads. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of how to actually use the keyword planner to find buyer keywords, all of the bells and whistles, maybe most importantly, the data that you just want to ignore, and test it out for yourself. So hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive Google Ads videos just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love.